Kingler, the pincer Pokemon versus Crawdaunt, the rogue Pokemon. Welcome everyone, I'm exceptional and I hope you are too. Today we will be seeing which of these two contentious crustaceans can defeat Pokemon FireRed, including the Round 2 Elite Four, the fastest. Initially, I felt like I was in for an absolute stomping of these game. Both Pokemon have access to the boosting move Sword Stance and have some fantastic ability options. The Pokemon are very closely matched in many ways with standout differences in special attack, speed, and growth rate. We'll get into all of that, but first we need to choose who plays first. Today's roll will be evens for Kingler, odds for Crawdaunt. That's a 10. I choose you, Kingler! I've decided to apply my new solo challenge rules to my Versus series as well. There are further details in the description, but my general rules are: I can only use my starter in battle, no items in trainer battles except for held items, no glitches, exploits, or RNG manipulations, and I will be doing 2 playthroughs of this game. The first is for information gathering. I will be using the worst possible version of the Pokemon with move restrictions in place. In the second playthrough though, all bets are off and I will be using the best possible version of the Pokemon to complete the game as fast as possible. In my Versus challenges I also start with the Pokemon fully evolved where applicable and with the option of a single egg move. For Kingler, I feel like our egg move is an obvious choice. There are some decent options available, but the standout one to me is Sword Stance. It raises our attack by 2 stages in battle. I then choose the nickname Cookie. It's been many years since I watched the anime, but some things just stuck with me. Cookie, 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 cookie. We stomp the rival flat, and I have my sights set on Brock right away. Cookie gets early access to Bubble, which will deal 4 times super effective damage against Brock and benefits from Stab or same type attack bonus. In Generation 3, we're just ahead of the physical special split, so Cookie won't be able to take full advantage of its physical prowess. Additionally, with a base special attack of only 50, it's the same as Squirtle. I don't see much use for water moves long term. I want to follow these Pokemon fairly evenly, so before jumping into our Brock attempts, let's take a quick look at Crawdaunt's path to Brock. Crawdaunt's egg move choice is a little bit more interesting. The standout options to me in a solo run are Body Slam and Ancient Power. Body Slam is great, but we have another, more powerful normal option later, and no real rock moves outside of Rock Tomb. I'll take the extra 10 power, 20% accuracy, and 10% chance for an Omni boost, increasing all of our stats by 10%. I nicknamed Crawdaunt Cancer after the constellation. Cancer is a water sign ruled by the moon, which I felt was appropriate because, you know, water, dark. Anyway, my girlfriend's gonna be so proud that I looked that up. Cancer also gets early access to Bubble, but with much more special attack, I feel it'll have an easier time. The biggest disadvantage that I see for Cancer is that we're very slow at only base 55 speed. Having low speed has caused me a lot of issues in the past, and today is going to be no different. With that though, both Pokemon went straight after Brock, only defeating the mandatory bug catcher Sammy on the way here. Let's check out our first gym leader. Cancer enters the battles at level 7. At first glance, you would think that early Sword Stance places Cookie at a major advantage. Well, not really. Cancer is part of the fluctuating growth rate, which is the fastest of all growth rates until level 50 when it becomes the slowest. Starting fully evolved, most of the early game is a wash anyway, and I'm hoping that level 43 will be right in that pocket where our raw power starts to fall off. That insane growth rate allows us 2 easy knockouts against Brock, gaining 4 levels by the end of the battle. That was easy, let's see how Cookie did. Cookie has 2 disadvantages in this battle compared to Cancer. First, we're in the medium-fast growth rate group, ironically being one of the slowest to start. We're only level 6 entering the battle, and with our much lower special attack stat, our bubbles are dealing significantly less damage. As such, once Onix is out and sees that we're in KO range of Rock Tomb, he ends the battle for an early first reset. With Bubble on our side, it's at least an easy solution. I quickly defeat Camper Liam in Brock's gym, then re-attempt him at level 8. Level 8 gives us some stat creases, but also brings us over a damage rounding threshold. Without getting too into the math, FireRed doesn't handle decimal places during damage calculations, so it results in disproportionate increases in damage as you level up. You gain more damage upon leveling up to any level that ends in a 0, 3, 5, or 8. We have enough power to get through Brock this time, only leveling up to 10, including the extra battle. Yeah, that's a big difference. It's business as usual through the next section. In Mount Moon, I make sure to grab the Dome Fossil. It'll serve as kind of a stress ball for Cookie to clamp on during the tough times in this run. Ahem, Agatha. We're then quickly in Cerulean getting ready to face down Rival 2. Brock gave us TM39 Rock Tomb for defeating him, which I teach before starting the battle. It gives us a super effective option against the rival's Pidgeotto and even crits for the one-shot. Bulbasaur can be a real pain to deal with between Sleep and Stab super effective Vine Whips, but we managed to get past him, although with only 5 HP. Okay, well, Abra is free, but I'm kinda thinking that this battle is over. Rattata, after all, has Quick Attack, which will likely end the battle. We level up to 17 now with 7 whole hit points, which apparently is out of range as we move first and take out Rattata. Well, that was sketchy, but hey, let's keep moving. Nothing of note happens along the next route, so after rescuing Bill, it's time to make our way to the second gym battle, Misty. I'll note that I did skip grabbing TM43's secret power, and it's something that I'm gonna end up regretting a little. I don't know, Vice Grip just felt so much more thematic to me. Before Misty, let's catch up with Cancer. It's the exact same story. I make sure to grab the Dome Fossil in Mount Moon, also for the same reason. I make to battle Rival 2 as well, but remember that we're out of healing items. As a slower Pokemon, Cancer is going to be taking a lot more hits throughout the run, so I'll need to be more aware of my budget and healing supplies on these treks away from the Poké Centers. I pop into the Mart, stock up, and now let's face Rival 2. Ancient Power is a far superior move compared to Rock Tomb. That point is really hammered home on turn 1 against the rival when we get the Omni Boost, increasing our attack, defense, special defense, and speed by 1 stage. Well then, I think we win this one. Cancer absolutely pummels the rival's team with our bonuses. You know, Ancient Power and Silverwind are always such fun moves to use. Very much luck-based, but when you get that boost, it's an incredible feeling. With the benefit of playing second as well, I also take the time to pull down Camper Flint on Route 25 to gain early access to TM43's secret power. It's kind of like Discount Body Slam in FireRed at 70 base power instead of 85. We're then ready to face Misty before moving south. For Cancer, this battle is an absolute slugfest. I have a Person Berry equipped in case of confusion, and honestly, this entire battle is just trading blows with Misty's 2 Pokemon. Staryu Falls bringing out Starmie. It's interesting that even though her water moves are resisted, she keeps using them because they're actually doing more damage. That's how bad our special defense is. Remember that. Starmie ends up paralyzed after several secret powers, which is the nail in the coffin for this battle. Cookie's strategy is a little different though. With access to Swords Dance, that's definitely going to be the move that carries a lot of battles for us. We're 2 levels lower than Cancer, so our special defense is even lower, but our speed is higher, and with SD, our attack is potentially much higher. I set up 1, then take out Staryu, but we're already at under half health. Starmie outspeeds and ends up taking us down shortly after, but I think I see what I need to change here. I set up exactly the same against Staryu, with her focusing on hardening this time. We still take a shot while bringing down her lead, but we're already in a better position. Against her ace Starmie, this time I go for Rock Tomb, and even with a miss, we connect and lower her speed. This allows us to move first on the final turn, ending the battle with Vice Grip. Awesome! That's now 2 badges, let's head south. I'm, of course, making sure to grab all of my usual items along the way. In my first playthroughs, I like to have these items handy. We may not need them, but I'd rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them, particularly in the leagues. Also, it goes without saying that there will be no hidden power in the first runs. 0 IVs across the board gives HP fighting with a base power of 30. No thank you. Then, on the SSN, we're ready to face Rival 3. Rock Tomb is just barely not doing enough damage to take out Pidgeotto. We avoid Sand Attack though, and with a Sleep Powder miss from Ivysaur, we're in good shape. Ivysaur was the moment when I really regretted not grabbing Secret Power for Cookie. That range would have went from questionable to guaranteed. While leveling up, we also learned Mud Shot, which is going to be a fantastic move for our next gym leader, Surge. Cancer learns Brick Break, so on top of grabbing the usual items from the SSN, I'm also popping into the second room from the left on the main deck to grab TM31. Both Pokemon won't be catching an army of Meowths, so I want all of these berries. Then it's upstairs, up decks, to face Rival 3. At a slightly higher level, with a slightly better move, Ancient Power one-shots Pidgeotto. That doesn't guarantee the battle at all for us though, as our speed and low special defense lets us down against Ivysaur. We're able to two-shot each other, but with Ivysaur being faster, that means he wins for Cancer's first reset. Jumping right back in, we get tagged by a Sand Attack this time, but Ivysaur ends up choosing moves that are much more favorable to our success. A fun little trick in this battle is making sure that you knock out Raticate with something that is not the move you're going to use against Kadabra. Typically, he will go for Disable turn 1, which is more annoying than anything. Grab the little time saves where you can, right? Our low speed and low special defense, though, are going to be a big problem against Lieutenant Surge. I have a Cherry Berry equipped for safety, because we're gonna need all of the safety that we can get for this one. Our plight really reveals itself when we see just how much damage Voltorb Shockwave does, taking our nice max HP down to almost half. Yikes. We work through his team, bringing out his ace Raichu, who immediately outspeeds and ends the battle. I wipe once more, trying to find a solution. In the third battle, I do find a solution, but it's again a lucky one. Turn 1 against Voltorb this time, we get the Omni boost from Ancient Power. With that boost on our side, we're able to smash through his first 2 Pokemon, then remember that our special defense is boosted, we can survive 1 Shockwave from Raichu. The icing on top is that we paralyze him, so on the next turn, instead of getting wiped out, we can bring down the Electric Mouse. I'm starting to feel like Ancient Power is getting us through this run for a reason other than coverage. Cookie, though, once again, handles the battle much differently. Remember when I said that Cookie learned Mud Shot? As a ground move, it gives us a super effective option against all of Lieutenant Surge's team. The battle then becomes a question of who knocks out who first. Oh, that's just how Pokemon is played in general? Anyway, we make it to the Ace Raichu in good shape, who then outspeeds and deletes us with a stab super effective Shockwave right to the face. Then, when the second attempt is going even worse, I think it's time to make the call. With Raichu and Voltorb outspeeding us, we're more egg-sposed than we can handle. So, as we rack up another reset, I bite the bullet and decide to move on without getting this badge. After reinflating our confidence and smashing through all of Route 9, Route 10, and Rock Tunnel, we're on the other side with a not-so-fresh face, but fresh attitudes. My first stop on the other side of the tunnel is grabbing TM27 Return. Having live stats available to me nowadays has been incredibly helpful. I know that at roughly 175 Friendship, the power of Return surpasses 70 base power of Secret Power. That's even more powerful than the Stomp we're currently rocking, so I teach it immediately with minimal negative consequence. After the typical welcome to the mid-game chores, I'm forced to ride my bike back through Celadon like some kind of common peasant because we're unable to fly without Surge's badge. It may be totally excessive, but I want to keep leveling up before going back there. I instead head to the Celadon Game Corner to start the Rocket plotline. Remember how I mentioned that Cancer will be paying very close attention to their healing items? Well, that's partly because of Cookie's run. Remember, Cookie played first, and most of the way through the hideout I realized that I'm totally out of healing items. Well, let's dig out, heal, and come back. That's some wasted time. It resulted in about a minute of lost time, which in the grand scheme isn't terrible. Now that the hideout is cleared, let's head back down to Vermilion via Saffron. Now at level 33, maybe we'll be ready to defeat Surge. Well, level 33 might have been excessive. 3 turns, 3 outspeeds, 3 one-shots. Oh yeah. Cookie had a much easier time in this battle, just, 14 minutes later. Surge falls, and Cookie's next stop will be the Pokemon Tower to continue the Rocket plotline. I don't talk about badge boosts very often, but obtaining Surge's badge does give us a 10% boost to our speed while in battle. Nifty! Facing down Rival 4 in Pokemon Tower, though, we go from feeling all-powerful and dominant to feeling like we must have missed something again. I missed the one-shot against Ivysaur, instead putting him in Overgrow range, so his stab, super effective Vine Whip takes us to only 7 HP. Yeah, Gyarados can then finish us off. If instead of Mud Shot I go for Return against Ivysaur, we do in fact one-shot him this time. The rest of the battle is pretty straightforward after that. Something that reveals itself about Cookie's run is that our moveset is quite limited. There's very little enticing us to choose our special attack over our attack, but our coverage isn't great. In fact, our current moveset of Return, Mudshot, Rock Tomb, and Swords Dance is about as good as it's gonna get naturally. Right now, it's still powerful, but those 50 and 55 base power moves will fall off soon. We then clear the rest of the tower and make our way to Silph Co. I decide not to spend a lot of time here. I collect a couple of high-value items along the path, but stay pretty much on target. We've been following Cookie for a while now, but with the exception of having to backtrack for Surge, both Pokemon are going to follow this same route. While in Silph, it's always a good idea to check out Rival 5. I wiped once here, discovering that I do in fact need to set up 2 SDs against Pidgeot in order to take down Venusaur. It exposes us to a little more risk of sand attacks, but with our ability Hyper Cutter preventing our attack stat from dropping, we're okay. I selected Hyper Cutter with both Pokemon, as I feel that with access to Swords Dance, we're going to be leaning into our physical side a little bit more. The alternative for both was Shell Armor, which prevents critical hits. In both cases, I felt like Hyper Cutter was the better option. At +4, we get dropped to only 5 health, but have a successful battle against Rival 5. Cookie is now ready to face another gym leader, but let's catch back up with Cancer. Cancer defeated Lieutenant Surge on the first pass, so we are not going to be forced to backtrack. We're going to be following pretty much the exact same route that Cookie ran aside from that. The first difference is grabbing TM40 Aerial Ace. Then against Giovanni in the Rocket Hideout, we get another reset because Kangaskhan can actually be quite threatening. He falls shortly after, and we're quickly in Pokemon Tower facing Rival 4. Cancer's good fortune in this first run continues as we get another Turn 1 Omni Boost against the rival. Well, I think we've got this one in the bag. We slice through his team and make our way to Silph Co next. Remembering that Cookie played first, I used the mistakes of that run to help guide Cancer's first playthrough. So here I am, gathering all of the high-value items and TMs for cash. This serves 2 functions for Cancer. It gives us the money we need to buy vitamins in a few minutes, but it also provides money for Ice Beam. I'm not sure if we're gonna need it, but it's an incredibly powerful move, and Cancer has the special attack to back it up. We find ourselves quickly caught up to Cookie facing Rival 5. But, Cancer is going to have a much harder time here. That low speed stat is going to be an absolute killer for the whole run. Literally. I'm only testing the waters here, and we haven't leveled up to 43 yet, so Cancer hasn't gained Swords Dance. It becomes clear that we stand no chance, so let's just move on. Cookie defeated Rival 5, whereas Cancer did not, so let's diverge and follow Cancer around for a little while. His next stop is Erica. We're over-leveled here, and Erica's Pokemon are not the fastest ones out there. It seems that that's given us just the edge that we need. I have a Cherry Berry equipped, but with the luck that continues in this first run, Victory Bell misses Stun Spore turn 1. I continue taking notes here, as our returns are just falling shy of one-shots. Super effective Aerial Ace would be performing better here, but we have the raw power that we need to just smash through. That's 4 badges, and now our route turns south towards Fuchsia. Before heading that way, I go to the department store to max out our vitamins. I sell everything that's non-essential and max out our speed first with Carbos, followed by our attack with Protein. I feel Crawdaunt will make a potent mixed attacker, but that speed and low special defense are going to continue to hurt. Once we're down in the Safari Zone, I make sure to pick up the Quick Claw. It gives a 20% chance to move first in our priority bracket, which is going to be super nice for this little speedster. With that, Cancer is already ready to take on another badge, Koga. I start off doing what we always do, hitting things and wondering how it goes. Return isn't doing spectacular damage against his coughing, but once Muck hits the field, our lacking damage output really reveals itself. I try switching to Crab Hammer, but in combination with Smokescreen from coughing, we just can't seem to land a hit. Wait a minute, didn't I just say that Cancer would be a great mixed attacker? Didn't I just pick up Surf? Well, it actually takes a couple of attempts to figure that one out fully. 3 resets later, and I now know that Surf one-shots his coughings. Muck is still a little bit of a wild card, and I know that his special defense is higher than his defense, but Surf would likely be the better option here as well. Either way, I haven't quite figured that out while playing, but this time with a bit of chip damage from Ancient Power followed by a critical return, then leaning heavily into Stab Surf, we can get through the battle. That's another badge for Cancer. I don't want to face Rival 5 without Sword Stance, so I go to the Fighting Dojo to do a little bit of training. It's fairly dense with experience and has tons of attack EVs for us. I do have to be careful though, as that dark typing we carry can get messed up easily by fighting types. More on that later. I then defeat one additional trainer in Silph, leveling us up to 43 and learning Sword Stance before attempting the Rival. I reset twice as I was figuring out the battle. Turns out that SD can carry us through reasonably well. One setup against Pidgeot, then a combination of all of our offensive moves deal with the rival's team. Return for Venusaur and Alakazam, Ancient Power for the flying types, and Surf for Growlithe. Sweet! Our two challengers are now once again facing the same gym leader, Sabrina. Cancer has a definitive advantage in this battle. First off, we're physically gifted, so that means that our attacks will be striking Sabrina's team for massive damage. Second, being dual-typed with the Dark type, and this being a Gen 1 remake, Sabrina's best move against us is Venomoth's Leech Life, I think? Which in Generation 3 only has 20 base power, by the way. Yeah, she can't really do much to us. Cancer cleans up his 6th badge, so let's jump back over to Cookie for the first time in a while. We have some badges to acquire. With Cookie, I was definitely allowing the confidence instilled by Sword Stance to lead me down an errant path. I was figuring that since Cookie had been performing so well that Sabrina was going to be an absolute cakewalk for our little physical pocket monster. Turns out that arrogance needs to be explained, but confidence speaks for itself. This was the former. I miss my range against Alakazam not once but twice as she uses my folly to bring us down. Fine. 1 SD against Kadabra, who loves setting up her own Calm Minds anyway, and then smashy smash. Her ace Alakazam is outspeeding us and hits us with a single Psychic for just over 3/4 of our max. Yeah, you know how I keep alluding to upcoming things in these runs? I'm gonna continue complaining about that low special defense. Cookie has some catching up to do. Next, we face Erica. Before doing so, I maxed my vitamins at the department store in exactly the same fashion as Cancer, focusing on attack and speed. We're over-leveled by a lot in this battle, and with our vitamins that we just used, our friendship is maxed, so max power returns, disassemble Erica's team. I then follow the same route down to Fuchsia, skipping the Quick Claw, and then it's Koga time. Before jumping into that though, I have to show this. I'm sorry, I can't remember who pointed this out in the comments, but I was recently told about this little shortcut. Almost 20 years of playing this game, and I never knew that I could skip the top left corner of this gym. Outstanding. Thank you all for your input and constructive criticism to help me become a better player. Cookie does one thing, but Cookie does it well. I risk the setup turn against Coughing, taking a Sludge in return, setting up a single SD. Then it's curtains for Koga's team. I can switch to super effective Mud Shot against Muck, but the Coughing line all has Levitate, so I can't hit them with ground moves. We miss the one shot against Wheezing, miss a bunch, and still end the battle in high green health. Our journey now leads us across the sea to Cinnabar Island. In my first playthroughs, I'm always interested in finding out what's possible before what's optimal. I've noticed lately that 2 gyms I lose a lot of opportunity in are these final 2. In my first runs, I generally skip all of the trainers in both, while in the second I usually at least clear Blaine's gym. What do you think? Should I start accepting that I just need to train more in the first runs? Today I skipped everything with Cookie, so let's jump straight to Blaine. Cookie comes in with a great advantage. We're typed for success, we have great, or at least decent moves, and we have Hyper Cutter, which denies Blaine's Intimidates. But there's one thing that I was not prepared for. A turn 1 burn from Growlithe as I set up 1 SD, effectively cancelling my setup. Well, we're on the clock now, so let's just go for it. We do okay, but Rapidash ends up taking us down. If we don't get burned, however, it's a fairly straightforward battle. 1 SD and then roll through his team with super effective Mud Shots. It's a tragedy of Cookie in this generation that these are really our best moves. A 50 base power rock move, a 55 base power ground move, and return. Oh, if only Crabhammer could be physical. Blaine falls, so let's see how Cancer handles him. In Cancer's first run, though, I did defeat all of the trainers in Blaine's gym before facing him. We need the speed. Cancer's advantage in this battle is that we don't need to mess around with setup. Our special attack is high enough to make Stab Surf viable, but viable doesn't seem to cover it. Some sensational Stab, super effective Surfs scatter Blaine's team to the sea. Even with a burn of our own and Arcanine surviving, we still win. Because I have a round 2 finish in mind, I find it's better to tackle this first part of the Sevi Island plotline right when Bill approaches you outside of Blaine's gym. Aside from that, in both runs, nothing exciting happens. Let's jump straight to our final gym leader, Giovanni. Stab, super effective Surf continues to do work in this battle for cancer. Nothing on Giovanni's team can stand up to a single one, but that darn speed stat almost gets the better of us again. Both Nidoking and Dugtrio outspeed us, and their 2 strikes bring us down to only 13 HP. But hey, that's enough to win with. Cancer finishes the gym challenge in under an hour, but Cookie is hot on his heels. So hot, in fact, that Cookie is actually leading by 3 minutes when we enter the battle. Cookie, though, has a speed problem for a different reason. I choose to set up once against Rhyhorn, not trusting the range of Mudshot alone. We then take a scary face as a result, dropping our speed by 2 stages. This allows, once again, Dugtrio, Nidoking, and Nidoqueen to tag us along the way. Cookie does have enough defense though, so we can claim an easy 8th badge. Our final challenge before the league is Rival 6. In my recent Swampert video, I became keenly aware of this Venusaur speed, 105. We are currently at 104. Well, shucks. Can you guess where this one is headed? I go off to do a little bit of quick training, coming back in, now outspeeding Venusaur. The battle goes well until Alakazam decides that we need more Stab Psychic in our lives. That's a finisher that we just cannot survive. More grinding and more resets later, we're attempting the battle at level 55. I've more or less got the battle pretty dialed in at this point. 1 SD against Pidgeot, sweep through his team, missing the range against Venusaur but then cleaning him up. This dominance in the early battle gives us just enough health to survive Alakazam's Psychic, winning the battle. Cookie has no further preparations before the league. Let's get Cancer ready and then jump in. Remember how I said that I would continue to complain about my special defense and speed? Well, we know Venusaur's speed is 105. What's Cancer's right now? 74. Oh boy. The good news is that we don't have to worry about the Alakazam finisher being immune to Psychic. Attempt 1? Not so great. 10 resets, and 10 minutes later I've done a bunch of grinding, and it turns out that level 55 is the key for Cancer as well. Actually, probably not. I was getting a bit frustrated and I was making a bunch of attempts at this level. This is our 5th, and it seems that our win condition ended up being Venusaur's 5% chance to miss Razor Leaf. Oh well, I'm taking it. There are no further preparations to make, so let's start this league challenge. Lorelei is the tip of the spear. Something I didn't mention is that at level 51 we learned Crunch. This is by far my favorite move introduced in Gen 2, so of course I needed an excuse to use Stab Crunch in this run. Unfortunately, I feel like this was my single biggest mistake. Crunch is amazing, but with Sword Stance, a rock move with a 10% chance for an Omni Boost is arguably better. Fortunately, our typing allows us some security against Lorelei, setting up once against Dugong and again against the less threatening Cloyster. It's a bit of a clunky battle, but we're through. But remember what I said about fighting types? Oh yeah, today we are absolutely talking about Bruno. No. I am terrified of losing speed as we're only at 83 to begin with. Bruno's lead Onix goes down with no issue to a Stab 4x super effective Surf, but it's his fighting types that are the most menacing to us. Hitmonchan, probably the least threatening of his 3 fighting types alone, can almost one-shot us with Sky Uppercut, and finish us off with Priority Mach Punch the next turn. For the sake of brevity, I'm skipping ahead. We still have a lot to cover, and if Bruno is a menace now, imagine round 2. Fortunately, when Bruno takes us out, it is fast, so here we are only 3 minutes later, but with 6 more resets, and I've tapped into our rare candies, leveling up to 65. This finally puts us in range of surviving Hitmonchan's assault. I take out Onix with Surf and then set up 1 SD while Hitmonchan Sky Uppercuts. At 55 health, we're outside of the KO range from Mach Punch, but at 96 speed, we only outspeed Machamp and speed tie his second Onix. Hitmonchan and Lee outspeed, but we have our Quick Claw on. We either get an activation or Hitmonchan went for counter, and then against Hitmonlee we absolutely get a Quick Claw activation, outspeeding and bringing him down. Then Machamp falls, and we win the speed tie against Onyx, finishing Bruno's team. That was incredibly lucky again. I am gonna have to come up with something much better next run. Let's move on to Agatha. So we haven't seen it yet, but Cookie has a ton of problems with Agatha. Between Cookie's first playthrough and this one, my thoughts were so simple. Oh, Cancer has Stab Crunch and the Dark typing. That should make Agatha quite simple in comparison. Wrong! I mean, it doesn't help that in this first attempt I hit myself 3 times in confusion. A Persim Berry can keep us safer and allow a single turn of setup against Golbat, but there's more bad news as the fight progresses. With our abysmal speed, even her Arbok is striking first, and hard for that matter. Oh boy. Another thing I haven't mentioned about the fluctuating growth rate is that at level 50 it really falls off. From level 50 onwards, it is the slowest growth rate, even slower than, well, the slow growth rate. For comparison, a legendary requires 1.25 million total experience to reach level 100. Cancer here is going to require 1.64 million. It's becoming harder and harder to level, and these battles are not getting easier. As such, I've sat here at level 65, smashing my face against her and trying to learn and come up with something different. It's the case once again that once I have my strategy dialed in, all we need is a little bit of luck, which we finally get. Arbok chooses Screech, so no damage there, her Ace Gengar misses Hypnosis, and after 3 turns of sleep against Haunter, we can finally take her down. But the bad news doesn't end there. Let's move on to Lance. Against Lance in round 1, Paralysis was the furthest thing from my mind. In fact, in most runs, I totally discount his Dragonairs as threats. I get some setup against Gyarados going to +4 because I feel like that's gonna be enough? Guess what I'm about to complain about? Our speed. Dragonair outspeeds, hitting Thunder Wave, trashing our remaining speed, and resulting in another loss. Here's a fun thing though, after using our last 2 rare candies, need I remind you that we're still in round 1, I now have 99 speed, which outdoes Dragonair, they have 96. With our not-so-hot speed protected, we won't outspeed Dragonite at 107 or Aerodactyl at 173. It starts looking a little bleak as Dragonite brings us to 27 HP before fainting. But then, in keeping with pretty much every major battle in this run, our Quick Claw activates and we hit a stab super effective Surf and Aerodactyl falls. Oh man, that's the Elite Four down, it's time for the champion. Our first attempt against the champion actually goes quite well, to be honest. It's another instance where, especially against Pidgeot and Gyarados, I'm really regretting getting rid of Ancient Power. But we have to live with the consequences of our decisions. I have some more bad news. This battle is looking great, but it's the best attempt that we're going to see against the champion for a while. We make it to his final Pokemon Arcanine, who brings us down with a priority extreme speed. Once again, there's a lot of run left, and I want to keep moving. Wait a minute, why are we level 73 now? Well, with my new first run rules, running the worst version of a Pokemon, I also allow myself to cheat as a last resort. The first playthrough, after all, is all about information. 8 minutes and 15 resets later, I've cheated in 99 rare candies and we're now attempting at level 73. This is the first run since introducing the new rules that I've resorted to cheating while still in round 1. Oh, Cancer, you're the worst. As you can see, it still isn't a fantastic battle for us, but this level finally gets us a reasonably consistent looking battle. I've mentioned in the past that the more fun I'm having while playing the runs, the more that fun translates into the videos. I sure hope that my distaste of this run so far hasn't put too much of a damper on things. Cancer clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 30 seconds at level 73 with 64 resets. This took 4 hours and 25 minutes of game time. I won't bother with all of the fancy intros again, as I've been finding them to be a little repetitive lately. Ah, the life of a content creator. I made these things and I'm so proud of them, and then 2 months later, I want to change them all. Cookie finds himself in a similar situation to Cancer against Lorelei. We're able to set up with a fair amount of safety because of our typing, and then smashy smash through her team. At the end of the battle, we get the chance to learn Crab Hammer, too. No thanks, it isn't physical. Lorelei was easy enough. How does Cookie handle Bruno? Well, not perfectly as it turns out. I was hoping that with our superior speed and no weakness to fighting type moves, we could more or less just beast our way through this battle. Our lacking power in our moveset though has other things to say. Mudshot can't quite get the one shot against Onix, and then the battle just kind of falls away from us. We lose speed, we take damage, and because of that loss of speed, we take way too much damage. How do we manage our way around that? Well, with the amount of luck that Cancer got in his run, I'm not too worried about taking a lucky victory for Cookie here as well. Both his lead Onix and Hitmonchan missed their rock tombs, keeping our speed intact. Oh, these first playthroughs. I snagged one SD against Onix, one against Hitmonchan, and then one final SD against Machamp, maxing our attack. 765. Pretty good, but we can do better. With our speed intact though, Bruno can't stand up to that kind of power. Alright. Now it's time to show you all of Cookie's problems against Agatha. Oh wait, we're still in round 1. Hold that thought. That isn't to say that this battle is free for us though. Our speed is better than Cancer's, but we still only outspeed her Arbok and Haunter in round 1. We end up getting a bit too beat up here as her Ace Gengar also manages to poison us for another reset. A few more resets later and I've dipped into my rare candies, changing my strategy ever so slightly. I realized that setting up against her lead Gengar carried the least amount of risk as she loves using double teams. I get in 2 SDs and then we just have to hope that Rock Tomb hits. It only has 80% accuracy to begin with after all. If we strike true, Agatha's team falls. Ugh, Rock Tomb, why? Alright, let's move on to Lance. Against Lance, I can lean on a trick that I've discovered works in the past. If you have decent speed and can take a couple of hits from Gyarados while setting up, you can then stomp through the battle. Aerodactyl obviously is still going to outspeed us, but at 126, we're faster than everything else. I get 2 SDs in against Gyarados, then go for the sweep. Return is our best option. At 102 base power, it's doing slightly more damage than even the super effective Rock Tomb. Oh, Rock Tomb. We'd strike down the final Elite Four member with haste, but the champ is going to be a bit more of a problem. Why, you may ask? Well, Sand Attack, of course. None of our moves will one-shot Bird Brain, so I have to resort to setting up against him. That doesn't really end well for us. In this first attempt, I don't land a single shot against the champion's lead. Skipping ahead again by 5 minutes and 8 resets, I've dipped into Cookie's rare candies again, bringing us to level 70. Remember, Cancer used all of his earlier in the league, then cheated, whereas Cookie here is still legitimate, so far. His Alakazam has remained a deadly crab killer with stab psychics, and in this attempt you wouldn't even guess how much I'd struggled against this battle. Pidgeot went for Feather Dance, which does nothing because of Hypercutter, then Alakazam ends up going for Future Sight instead of Psychic. At this level, Alakazam is the only one on his team that outspeeds us though, so with that we secure our round 1 victory. Goodness, that felt like a lot. And, well, because it was. This was only the first round as well. We still have another whole powered up league to go. Cookie clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 19 minutes and 8 seconds at level 71 with 26 resets. This took 4 hours and 14 minutes of game time. Between the leagues, I really don't have much to discuss. I clear out all of the Sevii Island plotline unlocking round 2 and make sure to grab the leftovers from the Snorlax on Route 12 before jumping back in. Along with some team and moveset changes, all Pokemon have been powered up by around 12 levels. Let's jump in. Cookie's strategy and moveset hasn't really changed since we initially got to Lavender Town. The reason for that is because it just works. I'm able to follow the same strategy that we used in round 1 against Lorelei. Tank some resisted hits while setting up, and then proceed to win. Easy peasy. Next is Bruno. Bruno's Onyxes have been upgraded to Steelixes, making them much more threatening. Even after setting up 1 SD, our super effective Mudshot is only dealing about half. Over time, I have developed a reasonable amount of intuition for Bruno's AI when it comes to Hitmonchan. I've noticed that if you knock out the previous Pokemon with a physical move, he's quite likely to go for counter. I use that chance to set up 1 more SD because that Machamp is looming. With that extra setup though, even after tanking a heavy cross-chop, thankfully it didn't crit, we can bring down his ace. Steelix 2 takes us for a bit of a ride, missing the range and then dropping Cookie to 3 HP. Thanks to leftovers, we continue to recover while he heals and eventually falls. Close, but the power of Cookie cannot be undone. So here we are in round 2, against Agatha. Our speed is decent, but it's nowhere near the 173 of her lead Gengar. More bad news is that Agatha has spent some time with Mr. Psychic and has a lot of TM29 on her team now. 2 Psychics are all that it takes to wipe out Cookie. Here we are a few minutes and a few resets later, and I've used the last of Cookie's legitimate rare candies to bring us up to level 79. How much does that help? Well, not at all really. So it's Cookie's turn to cheat. With a cache of 99 rare candies in our bag, what is this going to take? Oh hi there, we missed you. We're now 7 minutes after our first attempt with 15 more resets. Now facing Agatha at level 90. Finally, with 184 speed, we outspeed her whole team. Her Ace Gengar has 180 speed with Thunderbolt on her moveset. I think that about sums up what I've been dealing with. That Thunderbolt dealt so much damage that even at level 90, if we were hit by one, it has a range of 88 to 104% of our max health. Well then, I guess that handles Agatha. I wonder how the rest of the league will go at level 90. Dragon Doctoral Lance's Gyarados lives to paralyze you. As such, I enter the battle with a Cherry Berry equipped, setting up 1 SD for free as the berry heals us. Then, no shock, at level 90 we can smash through his team with Return. I switched to Rock Tomb against Aerodactyl, but really I don't know how necessary that was. Cool, we have one final challenger in the game, the Round 2 Champion. I would like to continue to hammer home my point about speed in these 2 runs. Against his lead Heracross, we trade +2 attack stages for -1 speed stage. We have more than the raw power we need to smash through his team, but because of our reduced speed, we're taking hits along the way. A lot of hits. So many hits that once again, his Arcanine in the back is able to finish us off. It turns out the Tyranitar knockout was a range as well, so after a few more resets, I used 2 more rare candies to bring us to level 93. An added bonus in this attempt is that Heracross goes for counter turn 1 as we set up so we get our 1 SD in for free. Now, with a guaranteed range against T-Tar and 1 extra turn of setup against Venusaur as he'll either soak up Sunlight or use Growth turn 1, we finally find ourselves with a successful Round 2 League. Well, compared to my initial expectations, this run was quite a bit more challenging than I'd given it credit for. And, spoiler alert, Cookie had a much better time in Round 2 than Cancer is about to. Cookie clocks in with a Round 2 time of 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 49 seconds at level 93 with 47 resets. This took 5 hours and 16 minutes of game time. I'd like to note that as we enter the Round 2 League with Cancer, we're already beyond the time that Cookie cleared the game. But like I said, these first runs are all about information. The second playthrough results are what really matters. But oh man, Cancer is nowhere near finishing this playthrough yet. In the second attempt, I grab 1 extra turn against her lead Dugongong because she loves her double team. That leads us to a successful battle, but Lorelei is by far the easiest league member for us. As it turns out, all of the problems that we had against Bruno still exist in Round 2, only he hits harder now. Alright, let's dip into those illegal rare candies a bit more. Now with 69 resets on board, nice, and 3 rare candies later, we're at level 78. This barely gives us a successful battle. I get my setup in against Steelix, who hits back with EQ for a lot. But our meager bit of speed is intact, so that's a win. I can take down the Steelixes with Stab Super Effective Surf, and the 1 turn of setup was for the fighting types. We now outspeed everyone on his team with the exception of Hitmonlee, who thankfully hits us with a Mega Kick instead of Brick Break. But it's enough to get through once again. Phew, I wonder if Agatha got any better? Nope. Actually, it's really, really bad. We seem to be doing okay against her lead Gengar, although we're getting really poor luck with Confusion. But there's another problem that I mentioned during Cookie's attempts: Thunderbolt. Not only does her ace Gengar have it, but her Misdreavus does as well. Our speed problem still hasn't left us either. Gengar has 180 speed and Misdreavus has 135. We currently have 115. What are the chances of us surviving 2 Thunderbolts? Well, at this level, we don't even survive one from Gengar. Here, let me demonstrate. Mischievous deals over 2/3 of our health with the first strike. Mischievous' special attack is 135. Gengar's is 208. Well, those rare candies are sure looking good. 5 minutes and 13 resets later, we're level 92 attempting the battle. Fun fact, it's still a coin toss. We've bulked up substantially, and now we can take the 2 shots from Gengar and Mischievous, but not every time. At level 92 though, we're speed tied with Mischievous, and we win the coin flip. The reason that surviving the 2 Thunderbolts alone wasn't enough? Well, Agatha does have an entire remaining team. Crobat is still a speedy devil in the back and would consistently take us down after taking the 2 Thunderbolts. Well then, that's Agatha. Maybe now the rest of the league will be okay? Well, actually I have more bad news about our speed. At level 92 with 135 speed, we only outspeed Lance's Kingdra, and Lance's team is stacked with powerful Pokemon that have powerful moves. His Ace Dragonite comes out nailing us with another Thunderbolt, dropping us into Red Bar. With 3 Pokemon still in the back? Yeah, no way. His Lesser Dragonite finishes us. We skip ahead another 10 resets and nearly 5 minutes, and we're still attempting the battle, now at level 100. And we're still taking resets. This is the first attempt at level 100, and his Ace Dragonite's Thunderbolt continues to be more than we can handle. This time for a different reason, as it hits the 30% chance to paralyze, and we fall once more. If he doesn't paralyze us though, we finally see another successful battle. I realize that I'm cutting a lot of footage here, but oh man, this video would be 3 hours long if I focused on every little thing. At this point during the run too, I was getting a little frustrated. This felt like Seviper all over again. Slow Pokemon suffer so much if they don't have the bulk to back it up. Ugh, okay, shake it off. We still have one final battle left in these first runs, the Round 2 Champion. I'm not gonna lie here, we are successful in this first attempt, but there are a lot of problems that reveal themselves early. Remember, we're at max level now, 1.64 million experience in total to get to this level. I have used a ton of illegal rare candies, 31 in total. The Champ's Heracross leads with a stab super effective Mega Horn for about 3/4 of our health, at level 100. And that was the better of the 2 options between it and Rock Tomb. And we still didn't get the 1-shot against him. At least I can grab a free turn of setup while he heals, then we crit with Surf against Tyranitar, which didn't matter, but our damage range, again at level 100, isn't that far above the 1-shot. From there, it's a matter of outspeeding and one-shotting everything that stands before us. Arcanine manages to get in some more damage with extreme speed, but because of the constant healing from leftovers, we're okay. Wow, man. Remember like a month ago when I said that I quit the Parasect video because routing the second playthrough completely did my head in? Before we get into the second playthroughs, I want you to try and think what the actual heck we're gonna do with Crawdaunt next run. Let me know in the comments what you come up with. Cancer clocks in with a round 2 time of 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 2 seconds at level 100 with 94 resets and a whole bunch of cheating. This took 5 hours and 31 minutes of game time. For the second playthroughs, I'll be skipping over the vast majority of the game, only focusing on the points I find interesting or change the routing. For starters, both Pokemon will now be running with nearly max IVs, as I've reduced a few select stats by 1 point for some specific hidden power types. Can you guess what I went with? I've changed Crawdaunt's nature to naive, increasing speed and decreasing special defense. Our special defense was so beat up anyway last run that I'd rather just be moving first to avoid it. Our physical defense is threatened way more frequently anyway, especially in the late game. Nothing changes leading up to Brock, who we can then defeat easily. More easily than last time with our added stats. In Mount Moon, I defeat the optional hiker Marcos on the way to pick up the Dome Fossil, in honor of my squishy dome after routing this one. The optional battle levels us up to 18, which gives us a slightly more consistent fight against Rival 2. Buckle up, it's time for some fast progress. I defeat Rival 2, then Misty, and then we're on the SSN facing Rival 3. Nothing really differed from last run aside from things are just that little bit easier with the extra stats. We haven't really had any Omni boosts either, but we haven't needed them. I almost have a reset against Rival 2 here as Ivysaur puts us to sleep after I knock him into Overgrow range. He beats us down to 4 HP with 2 stab super effective Overgrow boosted Vine Whips, but we wake up in time to knock him out. I'm surprised once again that Raticate doesn't go for the quick attack, but we take him down, then Kadabra in the back, not following my Omen advice and getting disabled. Okay, close call, but we're fine. Not for long, though. It's against Surge that we get our first resets of the run. Most of the problem lies in what Voltorb does. If he attacks us, then Raichu will use Shockwave and knock us out. I'm hoping for one of two things. Voltorb using Screech, or better yet, missing, or an AP boost from Pikachu. As long as I don't reset too many times, this is still faster than backtracking. This first try, I missed too many times against Raichu, and we get taken down. I wiped twice more, but then Voltorb went for Screech. We're at full health for Raichu. We will survive one shot from him, but only one. It's the same for him too, and with our speed at 48, we aren't quite outspeeding him, and his love of Double Team allows us to hit through twice and take him down. Okay, that's the last sticky point for a while. Everything remains the same with Crawdaunt, with the exception that this time I actually teach Aerial Ace. It's a better option against grass types, Erica for sure, but also our rival's Ivysaur. We can then defeat Rival 4, clear the Tower of Rockets, and then we're in Silph Co. I'm only here to grab a few items, including the rare candy on 10F behind that super scary Machoke that almost knocks us out. It's another close call, but we're fine. Everything is fine. This run is fine. Just as quickly as we enter, we exit, heading back to Celadon next. Aerial Ace slashes through Erica's team, and it's time to start grinding a bit. After visiting the department store to max our vitamins, I'm cruising down Cycling Road pursuing more of the same EVs, attack and speed. Our special attack by itself is adequate for our needs with Stab Surf, so all of our focus is being dumped into being faster and hitting harder physically. I haven't mentioned it, but I do catch an army of Meowths back on Route 6 in both runs. We're hidden power hunting after all. I'm not grabbing the Quick Claw this time, but making sure to teach Surf right away. Silly. We wash away Koga, and with that extra grinding we're at level 43, equipped with Sword Stance and ready for Rival 5. As much as I hate to say it, we're gonna be skipping Crunch this time in favor of Ancient Power. I mean, look at this battle. You just can't argue with those results. I then clear the fighting dojo on my way to Sabrina. Even with all of our investment so far into our speed, we're still not the fastest Pokemon around. We aren't done collecting speed EVs though, and only 4 levels higher than Sabrina's Alakazam, we're only 9 points away from outspeeding her. Sabrina falls and we're off to Blaine's gym. It's yet another training supercut as we defeat every trainer in Blaine's gym as well. You'd think that there would be a bunch of special attack EVs in here with all of the fire types, but nope. Speed, speed, and more speed with some attack from Growlithe and Arcanine mixed in. Blaine himself is a series of one-shots, so we can move on quickly from him. Crawdaunt has a bit more training to do, including clearing all of the trainers in Giovanni's gym. I then defeat the man himself, and we're ready to take on that troublesome Rival 6. In the last run, our successful attempt in this battle was lucky at level 55 with 82 speed. This time we're level 54 with 117. There's still more to do. This definitely, after setting up one SD against Pidgeot, gives us control of the battle. Having Ancient Power as well, despite not getting many Omni Boosts in the second run, has been amazing. Rival 6 falls easily, but Crawdaunt isn't quite done training yet. I make it to the league, but we have to finish our prep first. First, we fly to Fuchsia to teach, oh yeah, the absolutely exceptional move, Substitute. Substrats, best strats. In hindsight, I could have done this after my training, but I had the league in mind already. In this run, we were extra lucky with our Meowth pickups getting 2 copies of Hidden Power. The typing I chose was Rock. I'm not 100% convinced that this was the best choice. Flying was a close second for me. Once our EVs were maxed, the priority became grinding for experience density, and I'm pretty sure that the most dense region is here in Victory Road. I want to be around the middle level 59 range before starting the league challenge. Let's let Crawdaunt finish off his grinding while we check out the changes that I made to Kingler. Kingler's first change was something that I noticed on his Learn set. Metal Claw? Wait, there are 5 moves that we know at level 1, and of course we can only have 4 total, so the game just deletes the oldest move to make room for the new one. Metal Claw sure would have been nice last run. While deciding what to do with this, I decided that since it doesn't impact the late game very much, I'm going for it. Of course, the egg move remains the same with both runs. The only other change made to Kingler leading up to Brock was that I've gone with a hasty nature, increasing, speed, while decreasing special attack. Defeating Camper Liam first remains the better option, but then I can stomp Brock flat in no time. I don't need to measure that one in light years, kiddo. I follow the same route as Crawdaunt, also grabbing the Dome Fossil. Give me strength, Dark Lord Dome. One super thing that I did do in this playthrough was avoid a Poké Center for almost the entire game. The rate at which Kingler learns things just happened to work out perfectly that way. In Cerulean, I'm facing Rival 2, but this early in the run, there's only so many tricks that I have up my sleeve. Bulbasaur puts us to sleep, and we take an early first reset in the second run. When he misses Poison Powder, however, he's quite easy. I then defeat Misty, catch an army of Meowths, and dismantle Rival 3 again easily. Next is Surge, though. You know last run when I was all egg-cited about Mudshot? Well, this is the result that I was egg-specting back then. With our hasty nature and much better IVs, we outspeed and carve through his team just as easily as we did at level 33 last time. I've got that need for speed. Kingler's run then progresses identically to last time. He actually played quite intuitively, I found. Without having to backtrack this time though, after going to Saffron, we head directly to Pokemon Tower. I then defeat Rival 4, wiping once more to Sleepy Vine Whips, and we're back in Silph grabbing items and defeating a few trainers. I'm only really focused on getting the rare candy and the proteins, then it's time to bail and head south. I didn't really feel like the risk of Rival 5 was worth it at this level. I then defeat Erica, and carve down Cycling Road, defeating the same trainers as Crawdaunt. I've also maxed our vitamins in the same way, you guessed it, attack and speed. Granted, it was less of a problem for Kingler, but it's nice knowing we outspeed Rival 6's Venusaur as we enter the Safari Zone. I then defeat Koga, Rival 5 back in Silph Co, and Sabrina, all with quite an easy time. Honestly, Metal Claw didn't make that much of a difference, I just like it better. Late game though, it would have been nice, but I have something different in mind. The two crabs have followed identical routes through this mid-game, and their grinding is exactly the same, except for now, Kingler is going to cruise down Route 31, defeating all of the Seekings for more attack EVs before clearing Blaine's gym. Also, in Kingler's case, this is the last of the grinding that we need to do. That darn fluctuating growth rate really falls off when pursuing a high-level finish for Round 2. I then defeat Blaine, and Giovanni completing the gym challenge. Amazingly, Kingler has defeated the gym challenge only 20 seconds faster than last run, but with a much stronger foundation for the upcoming leagues. I hope that this footage isn't sped up too much for you, because Rival 6 is an absolute wash this time. Speed, speed, give me more! The final bit before the league was adding TM10 hidden power to our learn set. I replaced Metal Claw with, once again, HP Rock. I feel Kingler makes better use of it though. These round 1 battles are quite straightforward for him, and we're gonna see similar amped up versions in round 2. As such, I'm gonna supercut this first league. Nothing about Kingler's strategy has changed. I have a Chesto Berry equipped for Agatha, but aside from that, HP Rock and our more powerful Kingler demolish this round 1 league. I'll show you just how much against the round 1 champion. We have a pretty good foundation laid to take this battle on for sure, but that doesn't make the champion any less of a butt. We are pretty much just at the whim of Pidgeot's sand attack. In this first attempt, we get hit by one and end up missing against Rhydon. He lowers our speed, and it's a steady fall from there. Man, I hate sand attack. If Pidgeot doesn't reduce our accuracy, or if we simply miss any other time than against Rhydon's super scary face, the battle ends up going much more in our favor. Our special defense is still quite squishy as Arcanine demonstrates at the end of the battle. His resisted stab flamethrower hits us for a substantial amount of damage. Mind you, it was a crit. Never mind, it wasn't that bad. Kingler playing so intuitively in the first run made routing the second one much easier. We still have round 2, but HP Rock and Speed solves a lot of problems. Kingler clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 17 seconds at level 64 with 4 resets. This took 3 hours and 59 minutes of game time. Alright, Crawdaunt, let's show them all what you're made out of. These league battles are gonna go quite fast again. We'll see more difficult versions in just a second. Crawdaunt struggled though, and I would be remiss if I didn't show you the ridiculous things that I came up with. Yup, you're seeing that moveset correctly. HP Rock, Surf, Substitute, and Swords Dance. Our training put our experience at a point where once Lapras falls, we just barely crest over level 60. Perfect. The Meowth army served two purposes for Crawdaunt, but we'll get back to that. I used 5 rare candies between battles, and at level 65 we have enough bulk to survive the Onyx onslaught. Substitute sacrifices a quarter of your max HP to put up a decoy with health equivalent to what you sacrificed. The decoy absorbs damage, but more importantly, status effects, so our speed is now guarded from Rock Tomb. Onyx breaks it a few times, but I set up a new one each time, setting up to +6 in the process. Yes, +6, as HP Rock is resisted by the fighting types. +6 is enough to one-shot the Hitmons, all while outspeeding, and then two-shot Machamp with the decoy guarding us from his cross-chop. Surf then cleans up Onyx. Textbook. Agatha is next. With all of our investments into our speed, oh yeah, we now outspeed her lead Gengar. I can drop a decoy immediately and hide behind it, avoiding all of her hypnosis and confuse ray shenanigans. I set up one SD. Then it's a matter of hitting her lead and surviving. I get a little cocky against Arbok as she breaks our decoy, but I don't put up a new one. This results in her Ace Gengar putting us to sleep, but we do wake up for another victory. Lance with HP Rock, Hyper Cutter, Swords Dance, and enough speed becomes a much different battle. One Swords Dance at the start of battle and we can sweep with HP Rock. We're still a little ways from the 173 speed of Aerodactyl, but we're far safer in this battle. Okay, that was a much easier round 1 league, and we still have rare candies left in our bag. We lead once again with Substitute. Another thing that the decoy allows us to avoid completely, Sand Attack. Okay, maybe that was a little immature. Pidgeot manages to break our decoy with a crit, but I set up a new one, setting up to +4 and going on the offense. We don't get touched again. Ah, right on. That's the champion down already. I think I might say this in every single video, but I am a planner, and nothing is more satisfying than a plan coming together. We aren't out of the woods yet, but we are on a roll right now. Crawdaunt clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 12 seconds at level 67 with 5 resets. This took 4 hours and 19 minutes of game time. With both runs, there's nothing that changes between the leagues. I grab leftovers again, but perform no additional chores to open up the Round 2 League. Well, almost. At the last moment with Crawdaunt, I realized that my experience was just shy of where I wanted it to be. So I quickly panic fly over to Fuchsia to knock out the first cluster of trainers that I could think of. Once we're set, it's time to take on those Round 2 Leagues. Lorelei's strategy has remained the exact same between both leagues in all 7 instances that we've seen her so far in this video. Our water types just set up with SD, then beat down her team. For the second time in this run, she's designed as an experience breakpoint for Crawdaunt's run. We defeat her team quite quickly, leveling up to 70, but we know that the bigger challenges lie ahead. Before entering the battle, I used all of our remaining rare candies, 10 of them in total, to level us up to 80. Yes, there are 15 available in the game, but I only collected 13, and our Meowths provided the other 2. Level 80 serves 2 purposes. First, it allows us the bulk to defeat Round 2 Bruno with the same strategy that we used in Round 1. Surf for the Steelixes and +6 resisted HP Rock for the fighters. Yes, it's worth doing it that way. Surf is a 2-hit across all of his fighting Pokemon and exposed us to too many fighting moves. I'm quite pleased with this Bruno victory, but level 80 gave us something even more important for Agatha. Agatha's lead Gengar has 173 speed. At level 80, with all of the work that we put into maxing out our speed throughout the run, we have 174. Did anyone say substitute? Bam! Take your hypnosis and shove it, lady. I set up against her lead and then start my assault. We don't outspeed her Ace Gengar or her Crobat, but our decoy will soak up the Thunderbolt, and I don't see Crobat outdamaging us with +2 HP Rock on our side. I cannot tell you how thrilled I was when this actually lined up in-game. I was sweating this one pretty hard. Of course, if you know my runs, then you know that a Pokemon with Substitute and a boosting move almost has a guaranteed Lance battle. Gyarados lives to paralyze, which he just can't accomplish against a Substitute, so I set up with impunity. I only need +2 for HP Rock to tear apart his team. Aerodactyl outspeeds hitting an Earthquake, but it didn't even have the power to break the decoy. Sweet, that's the Elite Four defeated. Now it's time for the Round 2 Champion. We have a very risky time against Heracross. He either goes for Mega Horn, which ruins our day, or Rock Tomb, which can also ruin our day. Behind a decoy, I avoid as many Mega Horns as I can, because as you can see, if I panic and go into the latter part of the battle underprepared, we have a very bad time. Tyranitar's Thunderbolt hurts a whole bunch, and from that, we just couldn't recover. I wipe once more, then continue my quest in patience for Heracross to give me the time I need. We get it right after, going all the way up to +6. 1,122 attack. That's awesome. I'm not playing with Surf anymore. With that setup and the fact that Rock does not resist Rock, see, I remembered, HP Rock then rocks his team. Rock. Watching his final Pokemon fall was such a big load off of my shoulders. At first, Crawdaunt's second run felt completely hopeless to me, but it's astounding how much of a difference a hard focus on speed can make. We outsped most key opponents with a base 55 speed Pokemon. Crawdaunt clocks in with a round 2 time of 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 56 seconds at level 81 with 7 resets. This took 5 hours and 24 minutes of game time. Crawdaunt had a pretty dominant time in that league. Let's see if Kingler has what it takes to take the win today. Against Lorelei, I'm kind of over telling you about how we used the same strategy again. Hey, remember earlier when I said that Kingler didn't really visit a Poké Center? Well, with the free heals at the SSN, Pokemon Tower, and our house back in Palatown, Kingler went through the entire game healing at one Poké Center and then once more at Indigo Plateau. Nifty! Get out of here, Lorelei. Against Bruno, as a physical attacker, we do have to deal with the titanic defense stats of Steelix. 1 SD and a crit takes down the first one. I was feeling a little emboldened again, if you can imagine it, so I save grabbing my second SD until Machamp. I need the second SD for his second Steelix after all, but it would have helped against Machamp. Machamp hits us with a massive critical cross chop for about 2/3 of our health, but that was pretty much the worst case scenario. Down he goes, bye bye Bruno. Agatha completely outplays us in the first bit of this next battle. I go for my setup with SD, but have neglected to equip my Lumberry, which I saved for this battle. She puts us to sleep, then confuses us, then crits with Psychic, which is enough to wake us up, I guess. The first thing I do, hit myself in confusion, knocking ourselves out. Haha, one moment. I make sure to equip a Lumberry before entering the Agatha battle. Ha, nailed it first try. With the Lumberry, I get a Get Out of One status effect free card, so I grab my turn of setup and start rocking her team with more HP rocks. One thing that I forgot to mention though, 2 SDs would have been smarter. We don't have a 100% chance of one-shotting Gengar here, and we don't. She retaliates with nothing held back, hitting a super effective Thunderbolt, which takes us from full to 1 HP. 199 damage. Okay, Agatha, I'll stop being so headstrong. Crazy old bat. Against Lance, it's then the same story, but this time with a Cherry Berry for paralysis. 1 SD later, and we can steamroll through his team. It's at this point that I realized that even though my primary focus was on attack, I may have gone a little overboard with speed on Kingler. We're kind of at a point of, like, swag speed, where everything is outsped but Aerodactyl. It's not really necessary, but hey, it feels good to go first. That cleans up the Round 2 Elite Four. Finally, we have our final challenge of the video, the Round 2 Champion. Heracross has been watching our league performance, but Heracross isn't that bright. He was all like, he hit hard, I counter. But he seemed to miss the part where I always set up first. So I get my first turn of setup in for free and start on the offense. We can't afford losing a stage of speed, so I wanted Heracross out of there right away. I trade another setup move against Tyranitar while he heals after Mudshot misses the one-shot. But cool, at +4 now and speedy beyond speedy, we can now mash A until the rest of his team goes down. Oh yeah. What a rush. Kingler might have gotten a little far into the cookie jar with all of that speed, but after all of this, I'm ready for a nice sugar crash. Kingler clocks in with a round 2 time of 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 6 seconds at level 80 with 5 resets. This took 4 hours and 54 minutes of game time. Let's compare how each runner did individually before comparing them against each other. I mentioned it earlier in the video, but Kingler felt like it played incredibly intuitively. There are always opportunities to learn, but overall this run was fairly easy to optimize. We gain an early 26 seconds against Brock, then have a huge fluctuation at badge 3 because we defeated Surge on the first pass in the second run. We end up losing that lead over the next several gyms, but that's because of the extra grinding. This results in saving about 15 minutes in round 1 with a total time save of 24 minutes and 43 seconds at the end of round 2, 13 levels lower with 42 less resets. Crawdaunt as well felt pretty good until we started hitting that late game grind. We cleared Brock at 3 minutes and 48 seconds, which I think is my fastest Brock time to date. The luck with Ancient Power in the first run shows a little bit in the first few badges, but then we steadily start gaining time over the next few splits. Crawdaunt definitely required much more careful planning to route the second playthrough. It results in saving nearly 30 minutes in round 1 with a total time save of 41 minutes and 6 seconds, 19 levels lower and 87 less resets. Comparing the two, we can see that although Crawdaunt held the lead for the majority of the gym challenge, Kingler was not far behind, even snagging the lead for a moment against Surge. If not for that fluctuating growth rate requiring the grinding above what Kingler needed, I feel like Crawdaunt would have performed as good, if not better, than Kingler. If we were only pursuing a round 1 finish, Crawdaunt would win. But it becomes quite daunting to level up in those later levels, costing time and ultimately the race. On the tier list, this places Kingler at the end of the S tier. I'm not 100% about this being an S tier performance, but I'm pretty much out of room on this graphic. Crawdaunt finds a spot between Dragonite and Heracross, bumping poor T-Tar back down to the C tier. Okay, it's official. It's time to remake this graphic. I want to extend a special thank you to those of you generous enough to support the channel via YouTube memberships, Patreon, and Super Chat. You all keep me motivated to continue working hard and bringing you the best content that I possibly can. From the bottom of my shell, thank you all so much. And thank you, loyal viewer, for making it to the end of the video. I have once again posted a poll, hopefully with better timing than the last one, asking you which 3-way verses you would all like to see next. The options are legendary clashes between either the birds of Gen 1 or the beasts of Gen 2, then a 3-way match that's been discussed on the channel for a long time, a Hitmon battle to see which of the Tyrogue evolutions is superior in FireRed, and finally, not a rat race, where I will be using the early rodents from each of the first 3 generations. You can find the poll in the community tab on my YouTube channel. And if you thought I was done shouting out the wonderful Kangaskhan, you'd be wrong. He's responsible for the live updating stats on screen and the more in-depth analysis I was able to give because of it. We have been working on other projects too, with next week being my first stab at something a little special in FireRed. Can you guess what's coming? And I have one more update on No Shave November. The egg is filling out a bit more finally. That awkward itchy phase is at least over. It's starting to look less lazy and a bit more on purpose. Finally, my goal is to reach 5,000 subs by 2024, and as we saw again today, substrats, best strats. If you feel like I've earned it, be sure to leave a like and comment about the run, what you'd like to see in the future, or just to say hi. Hiya! If you'd like to keep up with my future content, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications to never miss a video. It really helps my channel to grow. Until next time, take care everyone.